Please don't let them know I called. Those were the words that started one of the strangest 911 investigations in modern American history. The dispatcher froze for a moment. The voice on the line belonged to a woman who sounded terrified. Her breathing was uneven. She seemed to be hiding somewhere. Before the dispatcher could ask another question, the woman whispered, "They've been watching us for years." Then the line went dead. No name, no address, no explanation, just a disconnected call that would trigger a multi-state investigation. It happened on a rainy Tuesday evening. At first, dispatchers treated it like hundreds of other incomplete emergency calls they received every week. But something felt different. The dispatcher couldn't stop thinking about the woman's voice. Fear is difficult to fake, and that fear sounded real. Protocol required officers to trace the call. The signal led them to a small suburban neighborhood outside Columbus, Ohio. Patrol arrived within minutes. The house connected to the call appeared completely normal. The lawn was trimmed, the lights were on, a family SUV sat in the driveway. Officers knocked several times. Eventually, a middle-aged man opened the door. He looked confused. He denied anyone had called. The officers spoke with everyone inside, the couple, their teenage son, and their daughter. Everyone claimed they were fine. There were no signs of distress. Case closed, or so they thought. The next morning, another call came in, different phone line. Same female voice, "Please help us. What's your address?" Silence. "Then if I tell you, they'll find out." "Who will find out?" The woman hesitated, the people watching. The signal traced to the same neighborhood, but a different house. The homeowner was an elderly widow named Margaret. She lived alone. Margaret denied calling. Investigators searched her property, but found nothing unusual. No evidence, no frightened woman, just another dead end. Yet the similarities were impossible to ignore. Same voice, same fear, same neighborhood. Detectives opened a preliminary inquiry. 3 days later, a third call. The woman sounded desperate. "You don't understand. Help who?" "All of us." "There are more than 50 names. They keep a list." The line disconnected. Investigators now faced a situation they could no longer dismiss. The FBI was notified. Agents began interviewing residents. A retired teacher recalled seeing a woman walking late at night. She appeared nervous, always looking over her shoulder. Security footage from a convenience store captured a possible lead. At 13 a.m., a woman in a dark hoodie purchased a prepaid phone with cash. As she exited, she repeatedly glanced behind her, as though followed. The prepaid phone was later linked to one of the calls. Finally, a clue. Federal analysts discovered the phones had been purchased in 3 states: Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. The pattern made no sense. News organizations learned of the case. Public fascination exploded. Theories spread online about organized crime and hidden lists. Investigators only cared about facts, and the facts were becoming stranger. The caller had been planning this for a long time. The next piece of evidence would reveal she wasn't the only person involved. The conspiracy went deeper than anyone ever imagined. The investigation entered a new phase when analysts recovered data from one of the prepaid phones. Most of the device had been wiped, but a single text draft remained. It contained only 6 words. "They already know who you are." No recipient, no signature, no explanation. Yet investigators believed it was connected to the caller. The FBI established a task force. Agents reviewed years of records connected to the neighborhood. Nothing significant appeared at first, then an analyst noticed an unusual pattern. Over the previous 8 years, dozens of residents had moved away unexpectedly. Not unusual by itself, but many had left without forwarding addresses. Several abandoned properties, some disappeared from local records entirely. The pattern wasn't proof of anything, still it raised eyebrows. Agents started locating former residents. Many refused interviews, others claimed they remembered strange rumors. Stories about people being watched, stories about anonymous letters, stories about unexplained phone calls late at night. Most stories sounded impossible to verify, yet similar details kept repeating. Investigators wondered if someone had been conducting a long-term harassment campaign. Then another breakthrough arrived, a fourth 911 call. This time the woman remained on the line longer. "What's your name?" "Not yet." "Why are you afraid?" "Because they're listening." "Who?" The woman paused, then she whispered, "The people behind the list." "What list?" A trembling response followed. "The names of everyone who found out." The dispatcher tried to keep her talking. But suddenly another voice appeared, a male voice, very faint. "Hang up." Seconds later the call ended. Everything changed. The case was no longer about one frightened caller. Another person had been present. Audio experts enhanced the recording. The voice was real, someone else had spoken. Investigators intensified surveillance around key locations. Several weeks passed, then an unexpected witness emerged. A truck driver contacted authorities after seeing national news coverage. He claimed he had picked up a female hitchhiker months earlier. The woman seemed terrified. During the ride, she repeatedly asked if anyone was following them. The driver remembered one statement clearly: "They ruined people's lives because they knew too much." Investigators showed him photographs, none matched. But his account mirrored the 911 calls. The mystery grew. Then agents discovered storage unit records connected to one prepaid phone purchase. The unit belonged to a false identity. A search warrant was obtained. Inside, investigators found boxes. Hundreds of documents, maps, photographs, notes, names, lots of names. The discovery shocked everyone. There were 53 names listed inside multiple notebooks. Some names belonged to current residents, others belonged to people who had moved away years earlier. Investigators immediately recognized a connection. The caller had mentioned more than 50 names, exactly as the notebooks contained. But the biggest question remained unanswered. Who created the list and why? Forensic specialists spent weeks examining the evidence. Many pages appeared decades old, others were recent. Several entries included addresses and personal observations. Nothing directly connected the documents to criminal activity, but the sheer volume suggested obsession. Meanwhile, public attention exploded. National television networks covered the case daily. Podcasts dedicated entire episodes to the mystery. Internet detectives worked around the clock. Everyone wanted answers. Then came the breakthrough nobody expected. Fingerprints recovered from the notebooks matched a woman reported missing 7 years earlier. Her name was Rebecca Turner. The discovery stunned investigators. Rebecca had vanished without explanation. Family members believed she had started a new life. Now, evidence suggested she had remained connected to the mystery all along. Agents interviewed Rebecca's relatives. One detail stood out. Before disappearing, Rebecca frequently complained about being watched. Her family assumed stress was affecting her. Now those comments sounded very different. Could Rebecca be the caller? Voice comparisons suggested a strong possibility, but there was a problem. If Rebecca was alive, where had she been for 7 years, and what exactly had she uncovered? The answers finally began emerging when agents tracked activity connected to another prepaid phone. The signal led them to a remote cabin deep in rural Pennsylvania. A tactical team prepared to enter. Nobody knew what waited inside. The operation would become the turning point of the entire case. Because hidden inside the cabin was evidence that transformed a mysterious 911 investigation into one of the most talked about stories in America. When agents entered the cabin, they expected danger. Instead, they found silence. The building appeared abandoned. Dust covered the furniture. Windows were boarded. The place looked empty. Then investigators opened a locked room. Inside were dozens of filing boxes, video recordings, hard drives, photographs, personal journals, years of documentation. The materials belonged to Rebecca Turner, and they finally revealed the truth. Rebecca had spent years investigating an anonymous harassment network. Not a criminal organization in the traditional sense, not a secret government operation. Not human trafficking, something stranger. A loose group of individuals obsessed with monitoring and intimidating people they believed possessed damaging information about them. Most targets were ordinary citizens, neighbors, former friends, business associates, people involved in personal disputes. The network operated through rumors, anonymous messages, surveillance, and psychological pressure. Rebecca became convinced dozens of individuals had been victimized. Whether every claim was accurate remained uncertain, but the evidence showed a coordinated pattern of harassment affecting multiple families. The list of 53 names represented people connected to those allegations. Rebecca spent years documenting everything. At some point, she became frightened. She disappeared intentionally, living under assumed identities, moving frequently, avoiding contact, yet she never stopped investigating. Eventually, she decided authorities needed to know. That decision led to the mysterious 911 calls. Rebecca believed traditional reporting channels had failed, so she chose emergency services. The strange phone calls weren't random. They were carefully planned attempts to attract attention while protecting her location. The second voice heard during one call belonged to another witness helping her. Both feared retaliation. Federal investigators spent months reviewing the evidence. Some allegations were substantiated, others could not be verified. Several individuals faced charges related to stalking, harassment, intimidation, and fraud. Additional investigations followed across multiple states. While sensational online theories had imagined vast conspiracies, the reality was both smaller and more disturbing. Ordinary people had spent years targeting other ordinary people, and fear allowed the behavior to continue. When authorities finally located Rebecca, she agreed to cooperate. The reunion with her family became national news. Millions watched interviews discussing the extraordinary case. Many people expected dramatic revelations. Instead, Rebecca delivered a simple message: fear grows when people stay silent. Her words resonated across the country. The story inspired discussions about stalking, harassment, privacy, and mental health. Experts appeared on television explaining warning signs and support resources. Law enforcement agencies reviewed procedures involving incomplete emergency calls. Several departments updated policies as a result. The strange 911 call ultimately exposed years of hidden misconduct. It also demonstrated something important: a single voice can change everything. Even when nobody knows the caller's name, even when the message sounds impossible, even when the truth remains buried for years. Because sometimes the smallest clue becomes the beginning of the biggest investigation, and sometimes a disconnected phone call becomes a spark that uncovers a story the entire nation never saw coming. If the dispatcher had ignored the fear in that woman's voice, the truth might never have surfaced, but someone listened, someone cared. And because of that decision, dozens of people finally received answers. The mystery was solved. The investigation ended, but the lesson remained. Never underestimate the power of one call. One voice, one decision to speak, because it might change everything.